Well, it is, there's a new thing happening. What we like to say in New Thought is that we do not tell people what to think. We tell people how to think rightly, but we don't tell people what to think. And now we're in a time of turbulence. And in a time of turbulence is when you need to know how to get under the surface, yes? Because on the surface, it's all rough. And if you go down a little bit, it's just fine, yes? So we need to know how to live our lives from these depths. And the Centers for Spiritual Living has been has been stating clearly that we believe in a world that works for everybody. We believe in a world that works for all people, and that everybody can have their good, that health, wealth, and success are normal, and that we're reframing our understanding of life itself so that we can get there. So when the world begins to do things that don't line up with principle, then it's not about making a political stand, but rather standing in principle. Is that making sense? So the leadership at the Centers for Spiritual Living wanted us to know this, which is a press release which has gone out into the world, and this is the Centers for Spiritual Living stand. The Centers for Spiritual Living stands in solidarity with the leaders and faith organizations who have spoken about the executive order from the President of the United States of America that bans immigrants from 7 majority Muslim nations, including Syria, whose residents have been subject to an ongoing deadly civil war. Centers for Spiritual Living embraces the United States of America's values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which means to us the inclusion of all people. Therefore, we affirm what is written at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. We stand in solidarity with the religious faith leaders who believe that it is possible to create a world that works for everyone without the loss of human rights or national security. In following the example set by Jesus in Matthew 12:13 said, "Stretch forth thine hand," our organization extends our hand to others to promote goodwill, love, and compassion in the form of this affirmation of solidarity. In the spirit of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who stated that our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about things that matter, we choose not to be silenced, and instead we appeal to our leaders to work toward a human dignity and a compassion for all those who turn to our nations for help. Centers for Spiritual Living values and celebrates the individual uniqueness and contribution of all people as they express their difference of gender, ethnicity, culture, history, experience, talents, and sexual orientation. Therefore, we commit to speak and stand with those who are working diligently to uphold our Constitution and our Bill of Rights by protecting human rights and the dignity of all people. We commit to standing with those who refuse to discrimination on the basis of race, religion, nationality, gender, or sexual orientation. Signed, the Centers for Spiritual Living Leadership, Dr. Ken Gordon, Dr. John Waterhouse, Dr. David Alexander, and Steve Burton. And there is our stand. Yes? So today's talk, it says in your program, is called Rakhma Love, and then it says next to that stand, it says, love you like a rock. So this is a story that I've told, some of you have heard it many times, and I'll just reiterate to bring everybody up to the same page. When Jesus spoke about love, you actually hear the words, God is love. And I think here is where we have a big disconnect, that we don't really understand what that means, that God is love. And so what I want to do is sort of take that apart for us a little bit today and reframe it in a way that you could see that love is both cause and effect, both the cause of everything that's happening and the result of everything that happens. So when we can begin to see how that really works, what we really find out is that love is the power source, or is the juice of the universe itself. That without power, there's nothing to move into, yes? There has to be power in order for an idea to have a way to go. And what happens is that the actual power of the universe is love. But most of us, as I look around the room, most of us are not trained in sandbox love. We weren't in the sandbox all together with all people of different religions and colors and faith, and we sort of grew up along our own paths, and then what sort of showed us what was in the sandbox was this thing called Hollywood, a world phenomenon that has changed the face of humanity, because really Hollywood was the first place where there was a global information center. And it was coming from Hollywood, which came out of storytelling, yes? And so what we did with love, as I often say, is we turned love into romantic love, which means as soon as I find that romantic love that is perfect, as soon as I find that other half, that completes me, as it were, what a ridiculous story, as if God made half people that were looking for another half to be whole. That's just not how the universe works, but that's the way we got encultured around love. Right? That Gregory Peck, the gorgeous Gregory Peck and the beautiful Audrey Hepburn get together, find each other, they buy stuff at the jewelry store and go off and live in happiness forever and never have a bowel movement or upset stomachs in their lives. Have you noticed that your life isn't like that? Have you noticed that, in fact, nobody's life is like that, because that's not really how it works. So when Jesus spoke of love, he spoke the Aramaic language. In the English language now, we have the word love, and now you go to the dictionary and you look at love, or you go to the library and look at love, and man, oh man, oh man, there's hundreds and hundreds of books, thousands throughout time about love. And you still try to find out what is love. So what I'm trying to say to you is love is the power of the universe, right? Okay, well, let's keep looking. How does that work? Well, in the Aramaic language, the word for universal love is Rakhma love. It's spelled correctly in your program. That's an Aramaic word. If you look for the Hindi word, it's not the same. It's an Aramaic word, and Rakhma love means universal love. And the way that I talk about Rakhma love, which is where we came up with this love you like a rock, is literally, how old am I now? So 36 years, I've been driving to Colorado. So I know the drive from California to Colorado pretty well, right? You go from California into Nevada, into Arizona, into a little bit of Utah, and then you hit Colorado. And the rocks change color. They change color, they change the kind of mineral they are. As you just go on that 800 miles, the rocks keep changing. They change, formations change, the way they appear. For literally, Monument Valley is part of it, rocks that look like statues. And so which rock, and I live on Topanga Canyon. I live on top of a mountain that's a rock. Otherwise, I would be falling over or sliding down. It's a rock, yes? So obviously, since I live on a rock in California, I'm kind of fond of California rocks, yes? Right? Well, but on the other hand, when you go into Arizona and they start turning red and stuff, well, that's awfully pretty. The colors on those rocks are really, really pretty. So I got to admit, I'm kind of fond of Arizona rocks. But then you go into Utah and they change into these monuments and shapes. And it looks like Egyptian shapes made by God itself. And you go, ooh, those are some beautiful rocks. Yeah? And so I like the rocks in Utah. And then, of course, I ski on the mountains in Colorado. And they've been entertaining me and playing with me. And rocks are bigger than I am. And I have great respect for them. Because I fell off a mountain, I know who wins, right? So I love rocks. So basically, I don't have a preference for California rocks or Arizona rocks or Hawaiian rocks, they're God's rocks. And so I love like a rock, yes? Now, Cuba love is a little different. Because Cuba love is, because I've been loving, I love you personally. I know you. Now, obviously, like my oldest grandson who's 2.5, not the older ones, but the babies. The oldest baby's 2.5. He knows Grandpa. He knows his name. He knows his words. He's formed a relationship with Grandpa. And that love that I have for him is more than universal love. It's pouring out of me, but it becomes personal. When he says, Grandpa, I just melt, right? And same thing when the little babies look at me. They don't have words yet, but they look at me and they recognize me. And this love comes out of me that I don't know where it comes from. I didn't know there was that much. So what you get when you begin to live with Rakhma love, you get the fruits of Rakhma love. And the fruits of Rakhma love are the personal relationships that we get because we have taken the time to love each other. Yes? We've taken the time to get to know each other. Then it's much more personal and it actually feels more loving. Aha! But let's pause a second. The juice of the universe is love. So if all you're going to do is love at the Kuba level, because you love me, I will love you back. Because you love me, I'll extend myself for you. Right? Now I've taken away from loving all the rocks to only loving these particular places where I have this Kuba love. Do you see? And therefore, all the power of all the universal love is no longer going into this personal relationship. It's just personal love. And then I go, I used to love that person, but I don't love them anymore. And we begin to withhold love, yes? And what happens when we withhold love is that sounds like, oh, well, those of you who've been to my forgiveness workshops, by the way, there's a forgiveness workshop coming up in March, coming up soon, so you might want to pay attention, that we talk about this symbol as the symbol of the soul. We said this is equal to the I am, right? Now, that soul has two faces. One is gazing up at the glory of God, always looking at the glory of God. Wow, because as Thomas Troward calls it, the infinitude. In the infinitude, there's a lot to be awed at, yes? It goes on and on and on, and it's filled with love, and it's powered by love, and it expands out, and the more you know about love, the more love you have, the more Kuba love you have, and the more this fountain. You'll find everyone has a fountain of love that they just have been capped. And they somehow think, because we've been functioning in Kuba love, that everybody's supposed to have capped love until you find the one that you can walk off into the sunset with. Well, and by the way, that doesn't work because the divorce rate is 70%. So something about trying to find the power walking off in the sunset with somebody doesn't seem to have much power in it. Do you follow? So what happens is this high self, and Meister Eckhart, the 12th century mystic, said it has two faces. One is gazing at the glory of God. The other is directing the senses. Right? So your high self nature is trying to guide you to reveal yourself as the glory of God every day. Yes? But the juice of the system is love. Wait. So I have this in my book, It's So Easy When You Know How, which is available there in the bookstore. But in this little story of Ben and Jerry is Ben over here likes to make ice cream. Jerry likes to make business deals. And every time, so this is Jerry, he likes to make business, this is Ben. So we just make sure we got everybody right, okay? Now, all Ben wants to do is make ice cream. But now Jerry's got them in this multinational business where he has to keep going to see lawyers and he has to keep having business meetings and he doesn't get to play around making junky monkey ice cream anymore. He has to go out and do business. So Ben has been blocking his energy from Jerry. And every time Jerry says we're going to go fly to have another lawyer meeting, Ben gets madder and blocks it some more and some more. Right? Which is, of course, distancing that relationship, isn't it? It's distancing that relationship because Ben has shut down his energy. Yes? But this is what people don't know. Since you're born in the image and likeness of love, when Ben decides to block his energy from Jerry, every time he does it, he's also doing it to himself. Do you see that? That by withholding love from someone else, that's an illusion. There's only God, the soul of God, as the awakened Buddha, as the Christ that is you. There's only that. And I am that and you are that. If I decide you are not that and start to withhold love from you, I ultimately end up holding with love from myself. Do you see how that works? So what we would say then about Rakhma love is the same as unconditional love. It's love given freely. without demands, without expectations, and without seeking anything in return. Right? And as soon as we stop loving that way, we start diminishing ourselves. Automatically. And this is, of course, the great unknown thing. This is why the master teacher, the best teacher who's made more impression on anybody else in history, said the only way to live life properly is in forgiveness. Because every time Ben goes to block, if I'm Ben, and every time I go to block my energy, it's going to to Jerry, it's going to block energy to me. I have to stop forgiving Jerry so that I have my own energy. Do you see how that goes? And forgiveness is to cancel the demands and expectations that are blocking my attitude of love. So forgiveness means basically I'm returning to love. Do you see how that works? Now the system works on love. Now, here I'll give you another quote from our dear friend Ernest Holmes, the great spiritual teacher from the last century. Ernest, and this is one of my favorite lines of his. And I am one of the foremost experts on this subject. I just am. That's how it is. Right? Ernest says you were born to have fun living. Now that would match what the psalmist says. The psalmist says, this is the day the Lord has made. I should rejoice and be glad in it. Yes? Isn't that, I'm born to have fun? I should be rejoicing. Isn't that having fun? If I'm rejoicing, aren't I having fun? You're born to have fun living. What if your number one goal was to figure out how you could bring more joy into your life? How can I have some more fun? Right? Now, that doesn't stop there because it's not just fun by itself, because fun's connected to something. And we've been talking about this through the whole series in January. Right? Health, the new normal is health, wealth, love, and success. Yes? Well, and that's because I'm plugging in because I'm not designed to work without God. The I am that I am is designed to work with the I am that I am is. Yes? Right? So as soon as I begin to plug into my own nature, I know there's something else supposed to go with fun. And this is the part that goes with fun. And to me, this is really the fun part of fun. You're born to have fun living, to constantly commune with the presence that is within and around you. Now, when you're in, I look at my practitioners and ministers because I already know, but all of us are practicing in some way, yes? When you are in tune with the one, aren't you happier? Aren't you happier when you're aware that you're communing? Okay. Oh, so practice, so commune, have fun living, to constantly commune with the presence that is within and around us. Now here's something else Dr. Holmes says. This one is mind-blowing. He says, and I agree with him. I've done enough Om Shanti that I agree with him. He says you can commune with everything. Woo. The presence is within and around me, and I can commune with everything. Commune with the chair, commune with the space in between us, commune with the souls that are part of that. I commune with everything. And when you start taking the time to start communing with everything, you start seeing beauty in everything. You start seeing the life force in everything, like that sunflower. It's vibrating with a life force, and it's willing to turn toward its nature and be like it is. Yes? And that's what we're supposed to do, to commune with everything. Start having fun on this plane of existence. You can commune. You can commune with the clouds and the dirts and the hummingbirds, and there's so much to commune with. Oh my God, right? To constantly commune, not sometimes commune, to have fun and constantly commune. Oh, and then what happened? Then he says the next line is, and grow and expand forever. Don't stay the same. Let go of that which is no longer you and claim that which you're seeing is you. Let go of the old, embrace the new, yes? So that brings us to this rising up idea. So here we go. If we're going to rise up, so this is where most people are. They look out into the world and they see somebody with wealth or fame or success. And, oh, I'd like to have that. And we say, oh, that would look really good. And then see somebody, if your body is not well, and you see somebody who's healthy, you go, oh, I'd like to look like that, right? I'd like to feel like that. And we take this objective world and we say, I want to hit this line, and we call this line normal. This is the normal line, right? Now, we're below the line, looking up at this line that we have now called normal, and we say, God, I would love to just be there at normal. Gene Houston, the cultural anthropologist, definition for normal people are people you don't know very well. Because is this supposed normal, which another way we call normal would be law of averages, right? The law of averages is the law of average, is that living? Is that life? Or isn't there a whole arcway of possibility of a fulfilled life up above that line? And where do you think your soul is? Where do you think your high self is in there? Do you see that your high self is way above that line? It's trying to call you into the nature of yourself as the glory of God. Yes? And the juice of the system is love. So if I find myself down here, now let's talk about this campaign. What we looked at in our community here in Burbank last year is this wonderful community that does so much good, that we all have great value for, that we all see is ahead of its time because it's helping us to see through the mist. And we're beginning now then to identify ourselves as light workers. Somebody say, I'm a light worker. I'm a light worker. I'm a light worker. Anybody else a light worker? Raise your hand. You're a light worker? I'm a light worker. If you know you're a light worker, right, then you got to get on the ball. You got to start carrying light. Yes? Which means you got to start being above the line, not below. Yes? Now, in this letter Michael, I rose you fast. You ascended quickly. In this letter that your board president sent you last week, he talks about, and we had discussed this, we talked about the essay on compensation by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And here's what that means. Whether you ever read the essay on compensation or you heard it from Abraham Hicks, it doesn't matter. Truth is the truth, right? What the law of compensation says is when you do a good, that good is coming back to you. And the nature of the law is to take your good and multiply your good, expand your good. So if you do a good, that means that good is coming back to you expanded. Is that making sense? Okay. And now, how many of you, and you could raise your hand if you want to, but I know most of you are going to say yes to this. How many of us feel that we've done some good that we have not been compensated for? Right? So now, and so what you would tend to do is say, well, I'm going to stop loving everything because they're not loving me back. But that's not how the power of the system works, is it? The power of the system is my good is coming to me when I'm in tune with it. Right? Joseph Campbell says the goal of your life is to get your heart to beat to match the heartbeat of the universe. And you know, Jesus never taught the prayer, my will be done. Right? So it's not my will be done, it's let my will match the heartbeat of the universe. Let me move into the flow of love. Let me move into the vibration of due compensation. So what happens here is if we're functioning with these principles, I got a quote for you here. If we're functioning with these principles below the line, do you see that we could elevate the use that we're making of the principle and do a lot better? For example, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, the expression was, when we saw a bird in the sky, well, if mankind was meant to fly, we would have been born with wings. Now, if we'd stayed in that lower use of the principle, would there be anything? Would there be space flight? Would there be any kind of flight if we stayed in the lower use of the principle? Do you see that that's what was happening? If we were meant to fly, we would have had wings. Was not the principle of aerodynamics always there? Even though we said, oh, you can't, there's no way you could do that because we don't have wings. The principle was always there. You had to rise up into the understanding of that principle. Isn't that correct? That's what I'm talking about. So if there's a principle of compensation and we're using it collectively as a group that has us below even what we call the law of averages, which is to get into the black, right? Then we must be misusing the principle somewhere. It's not the principle of compensation is not working. It's our use of it, yes? So this is how it works, is if I want to step into the flow, and New Thought teaches we live in an abundant universe, and that it's all available to you, that you are not apart from this good, that you're one with this good, that the tendency of the universe to multiply belongs to you. Well, first of all, you're going to have to cooperate with its nature. In order to get into that flow, you're going to have to cooperate with its nature, right? So the first source of your good is your capacity to be in Rakhma love. Do you see that? Because the more you're in Rakhma love, the more good is coming out from you. And what's the compensation for good? More good, yes. So when I begin to love in a universal way, which means I can't turn on the TV and get all upset about this side or that side, I have to find the way to come into universal love in the midst of the story. So otherwise, I like the Indians and I don't like the cowboys. You know what the heck? That doesn't work that way, right? And every time we divide, we limit ourselves, just like Ben and Jerry. Do you see how that works? So how do we step into the flow? How do we get in there? How do we come up? The answer is every one of us is an avenue through which the law of compensation is working. When it's time to give to something that you actually believe in, and then you say, oh, I just can't, I don't have the opportunity, I don't have enough money, I don't have the... No, you have taken your flow and you are the one who shut it down. And so I would say if you're down to your last dollar, give a dime. Give something, because otherwise you're saying the flow and I do not belong to each other. And we know for sure we were sitting around about something we think is important, and we allowed ourselves to find $17,000 under the ground, which is a misuse of the principle. And so I'm saying you are all light workers. I saw you raise your hand. If you're a light worker, then you can give more than you've been giving. And this restriction that's happening is happening because we're not giving. So if you want more good to come into your life, try it, as Matt says, for 28 days. Give a little more for 28 days. Now, so this campaign is going to go on until Easter. And on the subject of Easter, yes, my contract ends in Easter, but we're going to have a strong community, and I'm not leaving until we have a handoff that's solid and clear. So Reverend Trish and I will do whatever we have to do to make sure we get a handoff that has this community thriving. Is that correct? So, yeah. So we got to do all of that together. So what is the question is, if you haven't been giving, obviously I'm saying you got to practice two things. You got to go start loving rocks like you've never loved before. So you get some more juice happening into your life. Right? So does rocks mean, if I love the rocks, it means I love the hummingbirds, yes? If I love the hummingbirds, it means I love the squirrels, yes? If I love the squirrels, it means I love the dogs and the cats, yes? If I love the dogs and the cats, it means I love the horses, yes? It means I love the hawks, yes? It means I have to commune with everything in life. I get to look at some of your eyes and go, ooh, this is a good community, right? That's what we're talking about. Get that kind of energy moving in you. Like, did we connect? Did we sing each other? They get that energy moving, and this flow will move. So thank you online for those people who already gave to the campaign. You can go open Michael Tacklot's letter. There's a donate button right on it. We're happy to take it. You can go online to SpiritWorksCenter.com and donate there. And this is not what you're normally giving. If you haven't been giving, then give something. If you've normally been given, then do something for the collective of our consciousness and give a little more, above and beyond what you would normally give. And that's what that campaign is for, yes? Because now, and now I'm saying, don't give before you have. No. You have and you share, yes? So the first part of the work is the Rakhma love. Is everybody based on today's lesson more equipped to go out and Rakhma a little more? Yes? So just go Rakhma a little more. Don't worry if it comes back to you. If you find yourself withholding in the Rakhma department, then you got to do forgiveness work. That's what that's for. Get your expectations out of the way so you can return to love. Yes? And what you'll find is Rakhma love is easier than Kuba love because I don't have so many expectations about it. I'm just giving it. Do you follow? So get that juice moving through you. Love your bosses, love your associates, love your friends, love your caregivers, love your dog. Just start loving. Practice the communing in love. We are born to have fun and to commune with the presence that is within and around us. So just take those first two. Put your attention on fun and put your attention on communing. And make sure that in your communing, you're actively extending your love. Yes? And you'll see amazing things happen, I guarantee you. Rakhma love is the juice of the universe. When we decide that we're going to do that, we will grow and expand forever. And all we have to do is let go of that no longer serves us and claim into our life that which does. Yes? And every human being has that capacity. So this love that we're inviting the world to wake up into is the way, the light, and the truth. It is coming from the I am that I am, and it belongs to all people. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're facing the most difficult challenge you've ever faced, or whether you just want to juice yourself up so you can receive your good in a new way, I guarantee you, everything's going to work out just fine. And I invite you to think on these things as together we explore the possibilities. Namaste.